Roger Thunder here. Let's see, where do I begin? I think um, I think I'm going to start off with aliens. How's that? Let's get real far out here. Let's talk about aliens and let's talk about what their agenda might be. Now, I've talked about things in the past, ancient Sumerian culture, Anunnaki, and I've mentioned the alien connection before, and so maybe not as extensive as I should have, but I have mentioned it. And I don't want people to think that I'm steering clear of it. Basically, that's why I'm going to talk about it right now. So when you say the word alien, people right away get freaked out, or they think, "Oh my God, here we go, another far out conspiracy, another far out imagination, another far out." It's far out, man. Well, could it be any further out than what you're seeing before your very eyes right now? Tell me that. See, what you don't realize is the history of the planet. And once you realize the history of the planet, then you realize that all this stuff isn't so far out, not even the stuff we're seeing today around us as I speak. So back, and I've talked about this before, but I'm going to have to review it a little here. I'm always getting newer information too. I'm always having things come to me. I'm always guided to either a certain video or book or source, let's say, because that's how the higher self, or the one that's connected to the God self, or that is the God self, works. It points you in certain directions and it has you see certain things. Okay, so but I've been researching extensively on this thing with the Anunnaki. It started probably a year ago. I heard about it years ago, but I had seemed to have more pressing matters like what was going on around us. But anyway, the Anunnaki were mentioned in ancient Sumerian scrolls, not mentioned. They were explained in explicit detail in these archaeological finds right around 1930. And even in the Nag Hammadi finds, corroboration existed there about how these Anunnaki, or the Bible calls them Nephilim, okay, but that's kind of a scary thing. Well, it's all kind of scary, actually, if you want to put it in those terms. The Bible calls them Nephilim, okay, Nephilim, the fallen angels of God, so forth and so on. Came down and had sex with the daughters of men. Uh, Makes you kind of wonder, though, if angels are not supposed to be male or female. Why did they? Ah, never mind. We won't go into that. But here's the thing: the Anunnaki were the ones that were being talked about in the Bible as the Nephilim, or the ones fallen, or because the Bible copies the Sumerian texts almost to a T, except they twist things. It's twisted, has a different slant, has a different. It's almost like they're trying to hide the real meaning in the Bible. Aliens. Well, anything that comes outside of our, let's say, earthly plane here. And I'm talking about on a dimensional level too. I'm not just talking about on another planet. See, what you have to realize is that there's not only many planets, but there's also many dimensional systems that exist within this cosmos. See, that's how the cosmos was created. The cosmos was created through a thought. And this original thought, and the Gnostics call it Sophia. It's a nice name. They had a real handle on what was going on. They realized that everything was turned around, just like the Sumerians realized or informed us. Through their information, we have realized that what we always thought of as God or the devil was really just turned around on us to make the devil look bad and God look good. Except they're all gods, and there is no such thing as a devil. There is such a thing as an adversary, but I digress here. So anyway, these Anunnaki that came from another planet um, could be called aliens. They could be called aliens, or they could be called visitors, or they could be called extraterrestrials, or they could be called dimensional shapeshifters. You can call them whatever you want, but the fact remains that they were here and they did come down, and there's specific information on the cuneiform tablets in regards to manipulation of mankind's DNA. Now, some say that this manipulation was created. Now, when the Hebrews talk about it in the Bible in Genesis, they just and I'm not sure it's in Genesis, the Nephilim thing. I'm not particularly sure where that is. I can't recall it right now. But the Nephilim were referred to as fallen angels, and and so the way they had the DNA fusion, the way the Hebrews twisted it to indicate DNA infusion, was saying that these fallen angels had sex with the daughters of men. Well, if you have sex with the daughters of men, that creates a DNA strain, a really different DNA strain from what was already here on Earth. If you have an angel come down and it's super intelligent and super, and it can transcend. Now, see, that's another thing. How do angels come down? Do they transcend? Do they just walk into the dimension, grab a woman? See, so that's that's why the Anunnaki explanation through the Sumerian tablets, excuse me, is actually the real explanation because it makes more sense. And they even have on these cuneiform tablets, they have pictures of the chief medical officer of whoever came down from either another planet or another dimension, actually with test tubes and performing DNA manipulation. There's actual pictures of it, okay, but inscriptions of it. Just like you see on the inscriptions on the Egyptian walls, stuff like that, hieroglyphics. So there was a situation probably about 4000 BC where our DNA was manipulated, and some say that it was done for slavery reasons, for gold, getting gold and stuff like that, which I believe. Now, I just wanted to cover this because not only do we have, now I'm going to really stretch your imagination here, okay? Not only do we have evidence of the connection with the Anunnaki, but when you dig deeper and deeper and deeper into like ancient civilizations, you come up with other other civilizations like Lemuria, which existed, and Atlantis, which existed. Still down there. They're still finding buildings and ruins and stuff like that. And Edgar Cayce talked about it too. So you had all kinds of civilizations and all kinds of beings, shall we say, on this earth. Okay, and some of these beings were not from this earth. When you realize that the whole the whole big picture, that the creative mind or the intelligence or Sophia or whatever you want to call it, and that's the only name I'll call it because the Gnostics called it that. Uh, when you realize that this intelligence just thought about things, and through sacred geometry, okay, that's why we have sacred geometry everywhere in the flowers and the plants and even in the human body. This is sacred geometry. When you go like this, when you take your hand and you stretch your fingers open, do you see the curve there? Do you see the seashell? Well, that's called the pi curve. Anyway, this sacred geometry was projected from this sacred intelligence or immaculate intelligence into the ether, and reality is nothing more than a conglomeration of all this sacred geometry and molecules and electrons and all this stuff. It's just energy, people. So the point I'm trying to make is that when this immaculate consciousness or supreme consciousness or the great mystery projected this reality, this Leela, this play into existence, it wasn't just here on this planet. That's what people have to realize. It wasn't just in this small, little, tiny portion of the cosmos, Earth, this solar system. No, it was many, whatever you can imagine in space, whatever other intelligent beings there are on different levels. You have to realize different levels of consciousness. Some have been here millions and billions of years before us. Okay. And so they had a chance to evolve. And not only could they, and there was different levels of evolution. There were different levels of evolution. Some evolved to the point where they were flying around in spacecraft, much like we have today. Others evolved to the point where they could just project their thoughts in any direction and become apparent in that dimension that they projected their thoughts into. Any direction, any dimension, they could, but some, like I say, are able to do more than others, okay? And so we're not sure where the Anunnaki were, but they were in that range somewhere, and we're not sure where the people on Atlantis were or where the people on Lemuria. But there's strong evidence, if you research it and go back, you can find out much, much, much more about these people. But you have to do research in order to find that out. Deep research, and you have to have an open mind, and you have to drop the belief systems that you have, because all the belief systems that you've been taught about the history of the Bible and the history of the planet, the history, I mean, just reality in general, it's all been a lie. It's been a lie. Okay, gods have been created, false gods have been created. You don't know who the real God is. Gods, there are many, many gods. See, back then, earlier in civilization, if a person lived to be longer than they did, if they lived to be like 30,000 years old, and you lived to be 150, you looked at them as immortal and as gods. That doesn't mean they were actually the God. And when I say the God, I mean what I spoke about before, that intelligent energy, okay, Sophia. The Jews called it the Shekinah. They called it supreme wisdom. That was what was the supreme radiation of energy and creation. That's what caused us to come into being. And here's another thing too. There were beings on this. They don't know how this planet was really seeded, but there's strong evidence, strong evidence, in many scientific groups that feel that we were seeded from outer space, from another planet, from things flowing through space and landing on Earth. There's a lot of different ideas about it, but we are definitely not from this planet. And even if we are from this planet, even if we evolved to the point of Cro-Magnon man or uh, whatever species was on Earth when the Anunnaki came down, that was changed too. That's where the original Garden of Eden wasn't really the Garden of Eden. It was more like a corral. It was more like a playground or an area in which to develop mankind through manipulation. Okay. Again, but Genesis talks about it, okay, but they mask it, okay. And I've done videos before talking about really the whole Bible in a nutshell is just plagiarized or copied from earlier texts, their ideas, the Hebrews' ideas, the Hebrew scribes, their ideas. So it's a portion of history, but it's and it does go way back because they went and copied stuff from the Sumerians way back. Their creation story is a diluted, maybe twisted, I'm going to say creative, let's say creative version of their the way they looked at things, their creative version of the earlier Sumerian manuscripts. And then you got the Gnostic manuscripts also, which heavily coincide with some of the mystical thoughts and some of the, let's say, far out thoughts that people thought about the Sumerians. Okay, some of the same stuff. So when you research all of this stuff, when you come in from all the different angles, when you come in from the Bible, and when you come in from the Upanishads, the Hindu scriptures, when you come in from the Bhagavad Gita, when you come in from Lao Tzu, when you come in from any part of some kind of cosmology or genealogy, all of those things, when you gods, goddesses, when you research all these different areas, you find out really that they're all connected in some way or another. Like, for instance, some of the gods that were Sumerian gods were also Greek gods. And they were usually a pantheon of 12, always 12. So you had 12 Greek gods, 12 Hindu gods, 12. Just the number 12 keeps popping up, okay? Now, if you haven't got a grasp, okay, on what's going on here, you can always rewind the video, because I know that I jump around and I talk about a lot of different things. But if you miss something and you don't understand it, then you can always go back and listen again. So while I'm here doing a video, I thought I might touch on some other things happening in the planet at this time. And it really, the things that may be happening now, or the things that are happening now, may be, or most certainly are, a repeating of earlier history and let's put it this way, let's say it's a continuation of a blood feud. I won't even say blood feud, I'll just say in the original Sumerian texts, you had Enlil and Enki, and Enlil was, long story short, Enlil in the Hebrew scriptures ended up becoming Yahweh, and Enki ended up becoming the god of knowledge, sometimes depicted as a serpent. And in the original version, in the original Sumerian text, Enlil was kind of a hardcore dude that didn't like mankind too much, and Enki was more of a benevolent nature and peaceful and wanting to educate mankind, give him knowledge, rise him to the level of the so-called quote unquote God. Except somehow that got turned around. I don't know if the Roman Church did it or the Hebrews did it, but it got turned around to where Enki was the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and Yahweh was the God walking through, and blah bitty blah blah, on and on and on. And even the Gnostics say, yeah, it's all turned around. And the Gnostics were some of the people that were Essenes, and some of the people that Christ, Jesus, Yeshua, not only studied with, but was a member of these mystery cults. Okay, but again, I'm getting off on another subject here, but I have to say that even the Gnostics say things are turned around. What you think is God isn't God, and what you think is the devil isn't the devil, and it's all turned around. So we've been lied to from day one. So if you realize that, then your belief systems become wide open. It frees you up. It allows you to think way outside the box, because everything at this point is outside the box. Everything at this point is so far outside the box you can't even comprehend what's going on. See, and you have to know all this previous history about aliens and the alien agenda and where we came from and what's going on and how history repeats itself and what's phony and what's not phony. People think that they just have to research now about truth. No, you have to go back, destroy your belief system all the way to zero. I know, easier said than done, huh? But that's what you have to do. You have, or at least you have to compartmentalize so that you realize that these belief systems really aren't serving you. If they're doing anything, they're laying guilt and fear, and especially religion. That's a belief system. How about the politics? How about government? How about enslavement? How about, man, I could go on and on and on. So this knowledge that I'm giving you, and I'm sorry, my voice is raising here, but I get passionate. This knowledge that I'm giving you is to help you, okay, and to help destroy all these things that you thought were true. Open up your mind. It opens you up beautifully, okay, like a flower, because you're able to receive new ideas and new thoughts and create new belief systems based on more of a truth than an untruth, okay. And when you open up, then you realize that everything is possible. There isn't anything that isn't possible when you realize the power and energy of the universe, and that you have access to it, and that you are it. It's the realization of that, people, that uh, makes you see through the bullshit, makes you see what the false realities. Okay, so what we're in is, first and foremost, through this radiation of creation, through this one intelligent energy. The, we're in a virtual reality almost. We're in a false reality, because everything is energy and it vibrates, and different colors vibrate. Uh, what we think is solid isn't, and it's molecular. And man, I could go on and on and on. So what you think is quote unquote real is kind of unreal. And then within that structure, you have the unreality, the lies, the deception, the false projections going on within the reality. So I've always said it's the delusion within the illusion is what it is. It's the delusion You're deluded into thinking certain things within the illusion that's already existing. So this is what people, some of the dark ones know. They know this stuff. That's how they control people. They realize that if reality's kind of an energy thing and fake, and their technology can do things that you wouldn't believe. Their technology can project things, create false. You could be walking around the world, think it's the world, and it's not the world. Well, how would that be? Well, when technology gets to the point, like you see on the computer with virtual realities and everything, how about that? Take that 10 times further, because you don't have any idea the depth of the technology that surrounds us. Take that 10 times further and project it into reality, manipulate the energy of the universe, change wavelengths, change frequencies, radio frequencies, beams of light, laser beams. So at some point, in this false reality here, or this illusion, or this delusion and illusion, you kind of get lost and go, what's real and what isn't? What's real and what isn't? And I personally, coming from a shamanistic point of view, see an overlap going on here in dimensions. Okay. And the Hopi speak about this. They speak about going from the fourth world into the fifth world. I've talked about that on length. In fact, I did a documentary on the Hopi beliefs. It's back in the channel here somewhere. You can look it up. So what we're in right now, people, is just a complete illusion. And so what you have to do is you have to realize that you're a projection of that supreme reality, that you are God, that you are a part of God. I've said this so many times. See, God, what does God mean? Good? God? It has come to mean that which we cannot comprehend. Okay, we think mankind in his small, puny ways names him Yahweh, or this name or that name, or gives them a name. Really? How can you give that a name? Personal name. It's way beyond personality. It's so far beyond what you could imagine. It's ridiculous. So back to the full circle where I started with the alien thing. Don't be surprised, okay? Don't be surprised. Don't freak out, or don't lose it, okay? If you see in your reality, or the phony reality, or the false reality within the reality, some kind of a projection of an alien presence. Because truth be known, we're all aliens. We all came from someplace else. We all have origins in many, many far thousands of years ago, not just on this earth, but in other planets. So part of that DNA and that spirit, or that projection from the original mind, could still be with us. We could become activated at any time from the system of Pleiades, or we could start remembering when we had a former life on Sirius, or we could all of a sudden wake up and realize, and then we could look at ourselves and go, wow, I've got all this knowledge and power now. And then at some point, people might actually realize that they have more control over what's going on around them, say with the governments and mandates and people trying to control your lives through facial attire and all this other stuff, supposed health issues, health pandemics. The sooner you realize the stuff I'm talking about, is the sooner you will be freed from all that and realize that that's just What it is a manifestation of an energy or two energies that are in flux, okay, kind of like the yin yang sign. The fish chasing its tail, the black fish and the white fish and the dot in the eye, and you've seen that sign. Well, that's spinning. That's sacred geometry. That's how the earth was created. Most people don't know that. The Taoists weren't fools. That's why they got that sign. It explains everything perfectly. You know, you got the black and the white, the dark and the light, and then you got a little bit of dark and the light with the eye and the fish, and then a little bit of light in the dark. So there's yin within yang, there's yin and yang, and then there's yin within yang and yang within yin. So that's part of the sacred geometry of life being projected out. Okay, so you need to just pay attention and realize that you're in this soup of life and that you have just as much control as, say, some dark entity that's causing wars and pain and agony for mankind. What you have to do is tune in to get right here in the center, in the neutral center. Well, no, man, I want to go completely into the light. No, that's not what you want to do. That's not how the universe works. You can't have light without dark and dark without light. Can you transcend that? Well, then you're back to the original mind that projected all this stuff. Okay? And that might come after you go around 43, 50, 60,000 times in incarnations or whatever. Or maybe you already did that and you just came back to help mankind, hoping they'll listen to you. So I hope that not only did I cover the alien agenda thing here, but I covered a whole plethora of your existence in a nutshell, if you really pay attention. And I'll keep doing this. I've done this before, and I keep doing it over and over again until finally it sinks in. Sometimes you just got to go beyond the words and receive the spirit of what's being told you. You got to, they call it a gut level feeling, but it's really not a gut level feeling. It's a heart level feeling. It's feeling in your heart truth. So that'll help you discern. That'll help you discern. That'll help you get more control. That'll help you be at peace with what's going on. And it is a show, like some say. Now, there's some out there that I'm going to comment on this a little bit. There's people out there that, on a mundane level, are saying things about the former president. And I won't use words because they picked that shit up. Former president is really just in waiting, and that the military's taken over, and that there's going to be something done about a phony election or supposed phony election and all this stuff. And knowing the stuff that preceded this, I mean, put it into perspective here, okay? Put it into perspective. Whatever you're saying really doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. What really matters is how centered you are, how high your frequency is, so that this stuff doesn't affect you, because this stuff, this battle against good and evil going on in this lower third dimensional plane can suck you right into being disappointed because you had expectations. Being disappointed because you had expectations. Think about that one. What are expectations? I expect that this is going to happen. Don't expect anything. That's where the Taoists have a saying, okay? They say, be still and let the world form around you. Be still, be centered. Don't be blown about by the wind like a wind wave on an ocean, out in the ocean. Be still, be centered, and let the world form around you. Okay, because there's battles going on. Back to the alien thing again. There's battles going on other levels here. There's battles going on other levels that are going to manifest themselves in a way that you can't understand. It's going to be complete, pure chaos. And so you have to understand the chaos. You have to understand what's going on. There's going to be things that happen. There could be aliens being projected in the sky, or there could be real dimensional beings coming through. Anything can happen right now because we're going through a very, very high frequency shift. It's almost like, if you think like what would it be like if all of a sudden the magnetic pole shifted on the Earth? Well, it would create holy hell and havoc, and people wouldn't know what the hell's going on. Well, this is kind of like a magnetic shift going on higher levels, on higher frequencies. It could have to do with the ancient Sumerians and Enlil and Enki and the bloodline, and who's going to control mankind, and is mankind going to be a slave? Are we going to give him knowledge, or is mankind going to destroy himself, and do we need to step in? I mean, people, there are so many scenarios out there involving other intelligences in the universe that you would not believe it. But you can't even attempt to try to understand what's going on right now unless you look at this whole big thing and go, whoa, all kinds of stuff's going on. And I'm here at this particular time, and this is all surrounding me. So what is the most beneficial thing for me to do? Well, my advice is to go into doing some serious connecting with God consciousness through yoga, meditation, breathing, cleansing your body and mind, so that you can stay in balance, because you don't want to get pulled out of balance with all this third dimensional bullshit that's going on. So I might teach some breathing uh, techniques and some meditation. I've done it in the past, and but I don't want you to have to search for it. I've been into the martial arts for over 30 years. I don't even want to think about how long. And ancient philosophy, shamanism. This has been something that started with me when I was a kid, if you can believe that. Just naturally, not even wanting it. Okay, things happening to me as a kid. So I'm going to just send this video out to whoever to try to relieve some of the stress and anxiety and fear and false expectations. You don't have to expect anything. Be still and let the world form around you. And man, you're not going to believe what you see. You're not going to believe, but whatever you're seeing, you're going to see it for what it is. It's either, it doesn't matter, because the flip is going to happen anyway. In lower mundane terms, they might call it the reset, or they might call it this, or they might call it that. As above, so below, an old Hermetic principle. You need to learn all the Hermetic principles if you're going to even survive, and that's mentalism, the mind, okay? Correspondence, as above, so below, cause and effect, polarity, okay, vibration, rhythm, okay, and gender. We won't leave that out. So those are the things that you have to know to figure out how this whole situation works. Or you can just tune right into my energy and my vibe, and you just might receive it naturally. I don't know. It's been known to happen before. All of a sudden you go boop and wake up and like, what's he saying now? Okay. I think I'll leave it there on a humorous note, and hopefully this will help and help you somehow. I hope it helps you. I hope it calms you. I hope it gives you peace of mind. Um, I'll do more videos because I always channel just right off the top of my head, talk spirit talk, and sometimes repetition is a good thing because it helps get it in your head. Okay, if you listen to what I say enough, okay, then things will happen and you'll start waking up and there will be an awakening within you. Okay. A spiritual awakening, and that's the best kind. Okay, I'll leave it there. Adios.